Alright everyone, another day, another faux outrage from people who simply can't wrap their heads around the concept of Trump being able physically to do anything right. Like, they've totally fucking lost it. Like, a few days ago, Christmas is coming, they're like, oh my god, Trump hasn't visited any of the US troops. He'll be the first president not to do so. It's a grave disrespect. He's just a lazy asshole, horrible person. Then he decides to take an literally an unmarked flight, impromptu flight over to Iraq to visit the troops there. Oh my god, he endangered national security. Again, he's such a horrible person. So he's fucking damned if he does and fucking damned if he doesn't. There's nothing that he can do to appease these people. I've started to think, originally it was sort of a funny meme, the idea that there were people on the left, a few really out there people who wouldn't give him any slack for anything. It's become a more mainstream phenomena. I can't ignore this fact. I wanted to believe that it was mostly like when people on the right say, well, Trump derangement system, a lot of that application is hyperbolic. And some of it is. I'm telling you, though, there are a surprisingly large number of people who actually think that way, and it's really fucking disturbing. There were people who thought this way about Obama, too. It's like when Obama didn't stop the fuel boom. People on the right wouldn't give him credit, and it's like, oh, it's one of the greatest economic facets of his presidency. Not saying much, but relatively speaking, a fairly important move. On Cuba, the same people who had been arguing for ending the embargo all of a sudden got cold feet, and it was really funny. They do this, though, 10 times more to Trump in 2 years than they did to Obama in 8 years, and Obama did face considerable obstruction from the Republicans. So it's really, really interesting. And then the Iraqi government weighs in. Now, the Iraqi government, you've got to understand, is not an ally of the United States. It is semi-stable. It's semi-cooperative. But they also have a stick up their ass. Now, I don't blame the Iraqi government for this. Can I blame the government of a foreign state that got completely trashed by the U.S. for a fucking decade for being a little reluctant to bend over backwards to be our best buddy in the world? No, I really can't. I think that there's reasons why they'd think that was a little problematic. But to criticize Trump for visiting the troops on a U.S. base, he's not just wandering around in the middle of Baghdad. He's not saying, well, I'm going to force Iraq to pay millions for extra security. He's just going there, visits the troops for a few hours, and then leaves. Going there in an impromptu, unplanned manner into an area that is still filled with ISIS members, Al-Qaeda, other jihadist groups, certain other nationalistic militant elements. Yeah, it's probably not a great idea to a week beforehand, he's like, hey, I'm going to show up in Iraq. Yeah, I'm going to be on this base at this time. Go lob a couple mortars and see if you can hit me. Yeah, that would be a wonderful idea. Just fucking spectacular. Yes, Trump gets, splattered on the tarmac. It would certainly not be an international incident. It would certainly not cause civil war in the United States as, tens of millions of people assume that he'd been killed by the deep state. Unfortunately, at this point, I think that it might. Again, unfortunate as that may be, some people are paranoid, and you can't blame them. Some people on the left are paranoid. They think Trump's Hitler. It's like a powder keg situation. Let's try to keep calm. Can we look at this through non-biased glasses? Let's take our partisan hats and our ideological hats off and just look at what actually happened. A leader of a major country decided to fly to a military base in another country. He didn't tell people ahead of time. Did this jeopardize Iraqi sovereignty? No, not really. Some hardliners there that take up, again, partially for political purposes, because they have an electoral system now, they're telling the people, well, because the Iraqi people, by and large, are not highly positive towards the U.S. continued presence there, or its actions, certainly in shock and awe, it can campaign on that issue being, basically a hard ass towards Trump. Is it going to cause a massive breakdown in relations between the two countries? Probably not. Is there a possibility, and people have mentioned this, and I'm not entirely unreceptive, is it possible that Trump is trying to egg him on into kicking us out of the country because he doesn't want to be in Iraq anymore? There's a little possibility of that. By the way, I think that'd be hilarious if that happened. I don't want to be in Iraq either. No, I don't want our troops stationed in any country that's not an ally of ours. Iraq is not an ally. It is now a partner. It is now a member of sort of the semi-cooperative nations of the Middle East, but it's more like Turkey. Well, not quite like Turkey. Turkey's more cooperative, and I think, doesn't it still host some U.S. nuclear systems or at least launch capabilities, if I remember correctly? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of continuing to be stationed in a lot of these countries. We have a presence in Israel, we have a presence in Turkey, we have a presence in Egypt, We have a presence in, I think, Saudi Arabia. We have a presence in everywhere over in the Middle East. It's not like we lack for bases or anything like that. Meanwhile, though, everyone here to just get so hot under the collar thinking of Trump. Oh my God, he might have pissed off a foreign nation. That's never happened before. He is a hardliner when it comes to negotiating with other nations. He realized something here really quickly. Trump leads the United States, main world power in the economy, main world military power. We have enough firepower literally stationed in that region to flatten Iraq if we needed to. He's not particularly worried about certain party members within Iraq being angry at him. He doesn't care. He doesn't have to care. I don't care either. And for the same exact people who 24 hours before were criticizing him for not visiting the troops, to then criticize him for visiting the troops, while also think about the other hypocrisy here. Here's the other aspect of it that I find even more astonishing. They want to go hardline in Syria and say, well, you're giving victory to Putin, we should have more troops there, bomb things, haha, war is wonderful. And at the same time, then they're all of a sudden they're worried what the Iraqi government thinks. Oh my God, we can't piss them off. Let's go bomb this other neighboring country. They share a border. The borders are kind of porous. ISIS operates freely on both sides, but we're going to treat them totally differently. Despite the fact that I think isn't Iraq led by the Shia majority now as well anyway. So they're more technically in line with Iran. We have to pay them money in order to keep them from becoming an Iranian asset, just like Assad is. No, that'd be a funny time. Yes, let's abuse Syria completely, and we need to handle Iraq with kid gloves for reasons. It's obviously a major player within the region. He a very astonishing military and economic supremacy we need to keep on their good side. Who gives a fuck? This isn't gonna... Yes, and a week from now, some of Trump's detractors will still be hyperventilating about the situation. Oh my God, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's caused World War III, or he's gonna prevent World War III, you know, if we're talking about Russia. He's a terrible person. But they'll have forgot. But everyone in Iraq will have forgotten all about it. They won't care. I guarantee there are bigger concerns like, oh yeah, people blowing themselves up in a crowded market, people ramming into people with trucks, shooting up villages, enslaving people, cutting the hearts out of children and eating them, still beating. I think those things are worse than, hey, the president of a foreign nation landed on his base for a couple of hours and then left and didn't bother to tell our government for security reasons. Who fucking cares? These people don't care either. They're just using it for cheap, basically cheap political talking points. That's about all. Peace out.